everyone, today I'm going to be doing a video on some essential tools for The Sims 2. I'm sorry it's been a while since my last video. I'm actually now working full-time as a developer, so I have a lot less time to make videos, but I do intend to continue my channel, so just bear with me and I'll release new videos when I can. So let's get straight into it. The first tool I felt like I had to mention again, even though it was covered in my last video about how to improve the graphics of The Sims 2, which you can check out. There'll be a little pop-up and probably a link in the description. But anyway, this is a pretty essential tool, and what it does is it makes some fixes, and the main thing is that it allows you to play the game in larger resolutions, enable edge smoothing, all sorts of useful stuff like that. I'm not going to go into it too much because, as I said, I've already kind of covered it. It's also now considered an essential step for getting Sims 2 to work on modern machines and Windows 10 and so on. So there's a ton of guides, and there are some other tools to do with that kind of process. So if you haven't got The Sims 2 properly set up on Windows 10, make sure you follow some guides like that, because there's 4GB patch and empty standby list are some other essential tools, but I'm not going to be covering those. So I just wanted to briefly mention this because obviously it's a core and I just felt like it would be missing from this video if it wasn't at least mentioned. But anyway, yeah, you can see that I've set the texture memory it can use to the VRAM my graphics card has, made some enabled some fixes for NVIDIA cards, and set the resolution larger. So make sure you do those steps if you haven't already. It's really important. So next I'm going to cover the Sims 2 Pack Clean installer, which is also really important. As you may know, the Sims 2 comes with like its own little tool to install custom lots that you can download that other people have made, but it's really messy and it does it in a really poor way, so this is a much better way of doing it, that you can keep better track of any custom content that the lots come with, and things like that. So I'm looking in my packaged lot file, which is where all the lots are that I have packaged up myself from my game, and as you can see, I've set the Sims 2 Pack Clean install as the default way of opening Sims 2 Pack files, and I suggest you do that. So if you haven't yet done it, make sure you go to Open With and choose another app, and then for me it'll be there, but if it's not there for you, you will have to look for the app on your PC and find it that way, and then make sure you select this. Always use this to open Sims 2 pack files, because trust me, there'll be no need to ever use the default one that comes with the game. Again, this is a much better, cleaner way of doing it. So when you open a Sims 2 pack with this, as you can see, it has some really handy information. It shows you a screenshot of what the lot looks like, and it also clearly tells you all of the custom content that is included in the lot. As you can see, I have used lots of custom content in here, and the issue with using the normal one that comes with Sims 2 is it doesn't break this down for you. It doesn't tell you what custom content is in it. It doesn't let you select which ones you actually want to install. So this is a much better way of doing it. And the most important thing is it doesn't rename the custom content files like the original Sims 2 tool does. When you install a lot that has custom content in it, the custom content will just be a long string of random letters and numbers that makes no sense to you. It's really hard for you to find out what that thing is. So yeah, this is much better. When you've checked the things that you do want to keep included, and when you haven't, you might want to only install the lot and you don't care what custom content is missing. You're just gonna renovate it yourself. You can also take all the furniture out if you just want the shell. But anyway, when you've made the selections of what you actually want to install, you then press install, and don't change any of this. It might seem weird that it's going to a folder called teleport, but just leave it as it is and press install, and then it will be in your lot bin in game. The next tool is called the HUD Checker by the same artist as the previous tool. Matilda's made some really good stuff, and I believe she actually passed away, which is super sad. She was a real blessing to to the Sims 2 community. She's made some really good stuff that's still used today, even though obviously things have not been updated in quite a long time. They're still extremely relevant today. So yeah, much respect for her. But anyway, this is basically a handy tool that helps prevent issues in your neighborhood and potentially corruption. It scans your neighborhood and tells you about any issues it's found and actually removes those issues for you. So when you open it, there's some information about it, and then you can click start, and then you choose the neighborhood you want to check and potentially fix, and this will include any custom neighborhoods you've made yourself. I'm currently playing Veronaville, so let's check that. It's been a little while since I've done it. So to start with, you can just check it and then it'll tell you anything it's found. I wouldn't recommend getting it to show all memories, just leave that as it is and press finish, and it'll load and check, and then it will show you all of the issues it's found. And don't worry that it has found stuff, it happens, it's normal, so this handy tool can fix it. So once you've checked it and established that there are things that could do with being fixed, you can just press restart and load that same neighborhood again, and then this time press remove. But yes, this is super important. Before you do this, make sure you back up your neighborhood. So the way you do this is to go to your game documents and then go to neighborhoods and back up the neighborhood that you're going to fix. I've already done this, but it's as simple as just making a copy on your desktop. Obviously make sure it says copy and not move, just so you have a backup in case for some reason it broke more than it fixes. I've never had that happen. I haven't heard of that happening, but still, before you do this kind of thing to your neighborhood, it's good to have regular backups anyway, right? In case something else goes wrong in your gameplay, it's always good to have backups. In fact, I have a document dedicated to Sims 2 stuff, including my tools, and that's where I install my tools. But as well as this, I have a folder called neighborhood backups, and this is all Veronaville, and as you can see, I have a long list of different backups that I have kept. Just say you have points that you can revert back to at any point. If I go into SimPE and edit some memories or anything like that, even before I started renovating Three Lakes, I made a backup at the end of rotational gameplay. All kinds of stuff like that. And before a big event in a game like Isabella Monti dying, it's just good to have those points that you can back up just in case for whatever reason you want to go back and make a different decision. Really handy to have. I recommend everyone do this. But anyway, so when you have backed up the neighborhood, you then press that you do have recent backup. Don't lie, just do it. And then press finish. It's telling you it's going to attempt to fix everything it finds. And then when it is done, it brings back this report of what it has done. And as you can see, all of the errors that it found have been removed. Not everything can always be removed. Don't really worry about them. You can always Google them if you are concerned. And this, you can also save it to make a log of what it did. So you can just like put the date you did it in, I guess. And then it will tell you what it did, so that you can go back and check if at any point there's something you want to clarify or check. But then that's it. It's fixed, and that's all there is to it. Super good, handy tool. So I suppose those three I've just mentioned are what I would recommend for every single Sims 2 player to use, no matter what. But now I'm going to move on to some tools that are important if you mod the game or use some custom content, which I highly recommend that you do. Don't be scared. There's a whole world of amazing creations that you're really missing out of if you don't give them a chance. But anyway, SimPE, or Sim Package Editor, is what PE is short for, and that's what is used to make and edit mods. And this might seem a bit advanced, but I wanted to include it because the original download, the original website for SimPE no longer exists. So I wanted to reference you to this handy thread on Mod the Sims, which directs you to all the some additional utilities for SimPE, and most importantly the actual up-to-date versions, because otherwise they are quite hard to find. I was using an outdated version for a long time without realizing it, and I kept getting this warning every time I opened it up and didn't understand, and then finally realized that there was a more up-to-date version. So yeah, without this thread, they'd be super hard to find. So what you want is this version 0.75.69 by Chris Hatch. And then you just open this link to the install, and it's a sim file share folder, and you can download some documentations and the installer. I believe I just went with the regular installer one. You can install it as, you know, just copy the files in. I can't remember what TNA stands for. Does anyone know? Can anyone tell me? I believe I looked into it and did clarify it wasn't something I needed, but it might be worth looking into again if you're not sure. So yeah, that's where you find the most recent version of that, and I'm probably going to do some tutorials on SimPE in the future. It's is how you can, it's not just for making mods actually, you can also make edits to your neighborhood. As I said, like I edit memories, you know, for example, I use the mod that gets rid of the in-game inheritance system because it's really random and can leave people stupidly rich. I use that mod that blocks that, and I handle inheritance myself by splitting what they own and their current funds when they die to the family members. So I didn't want them to miss out on having that memory of inheritance. So when that happens, when a family member dies, and then I manually handle the inheritance, I then go into SimPE and give them a memory of inheriting some money, just to might sound a bit morbid, but I guess add some positivity to the death experience. You know, it's a positive memory straight after the death memory, which is really bad and obviously really upsets your Sims. So it's just a way to you know, give them a little pick-me-up, I suppose. So yeah, it's a really handy tool. Sometimes mods have these files called beacons, which are really easy tuning files. You might read in mod descriptions about tuning. You do this in SimPE and it's often super easy, so don't be scared. Have a look around. I'm probably going to do some videos in the future. I haven't decided quite what yet, but yeah, it's once you get into the modding world of Sims 2, it's probably going to be something you want to have installed, so make sure you grab in the latest version. Next is a tool to check for conflicts. When you have a lot of mods, you are likely to have some mods that conflict with each other. That doesn't mean they can't be used together, but it's good to have an understanding of what conflicts you have so you can handle them by changing load order and such. And when people say that, they basically mean if you want something to load higher, stick like an exclamation mark on the front. If you want something to load last, you put a Z at the front of the file name. But I'm not going into that. That's beyond the scope of this video. But anyway, to handle conflicts, I cannot stress how much I recommend this tool called SiMidge. I always say SiMidge, but it's not, it's SiMidge. And a lot of you are probably surprised that I didn't say the HDCU. Yep, handy conflict detection utility. This is much better than the HCDU. I always forget what order those letters are in. Anyway, yeah, if you do still want to use the HCDU, make sure you grab a more updated version from, I think Lazy Duchess has one and Pick and Mix Mods has one. Don't look for the original one by Sim Wardrobe. There have been improvements made to it since that version. But anyway, I don't need to have that at all anymore now that I use SiMidge. And funnily enough, it was actually me that made this anonymous question to Midge about ways to handle STR conflicts because the HCDU doesn't detect those, and that's when she decided to release the tool that she's been working on publicly. And this covers more stuff than the HCDU, including those string conflicts when two mods overwrite text basically at the same time. This is the only tool I know of that detects those. And it's also faster. It doesn't have a amount limit. Honestly, my mods folder got too big for the HCDU in the end. So yeah, this is just much better. I actually use this debug version so you can see what's going on with it. sometimes it doesn't, when you're first trying to set it up, it's not working and it's hard to tell why. So if you use this debug version, you'll be able to diagnose that. I was actually thinking of doing another video on a tutorial on how to properly use SimIdge. Not that I'm an expert on it, but I've seen on Pleasant Sims Discord that a lot of people are very confused by it and don't know how to use it, and that's why they're sticking to the HCDU. So if you would like a tutorial on it, let me know, and that is definitely something I'd be happy to do. So this is what it looks like when you open it up. This black box is from the debug version. So what you need to do to set it up is make sure you go into wherever you've installed it and find this locations.txt and put the right locations in. For me, I have made it just check my mods. I separate my mods on CC. So I just want this to check my mods. If I wanted to check my custom content as well, I can easily change it, but obviously it takes a really long time to go through my custom content as well. So that's why I've assigned it to just checking my mods, which is a really cool feature that it can do. So make sure, especially if you've just installed it and it's not working, it's probably because your file locations aren't set up properly. So make sure you do that. So once you've done that, what I do to check my mod conflicts is I click this downloads toggle thing here and then go to the top, find conflicts, and that's it. As you can see, the debug version shows which file it's scanning, and then if something goes wrong, it breaks and you can see where it's broken, where it's gotten to, what the problem is, and then you can, send a message to Midge and say, hey, I've had this error, and she can probably help you out from there. Anyway, when it's finished, all your conflicts are listed here, quite similarly to how they are in the HCDU, and what you can do is you can copy all of this and put it in a text file. If I just override this one, and then you can see all the conflicts that you have. I have a lot of conflicts, but surprisingly, probably most of them are actually handled and deliberate, by renaming and such. So yeah, I wouldn't say I really get many problems in my game due to mod conflicts, so don't be scared of them. Just because mod conflict does not mean they shouldn't be used together, and sometimes it's just a case of handling your load order. So anyway, yeah, that's all I'm going to say for now, but again, please do let me know in the comments if you think you would benefit from a SimIdge tutorial. Next is a really cool new tool by Pick and Mix Mods called What Caused This, and this, if you are a Sims 4 player, you might know of the Better Exceptions tool, and that's basically this. It allows you to copy in your error logs and it will help diagnose it for you, like suggest a mod that could be to do with it and things like that. It's a good place to start because the error logs are not easy things to read at all. So yeah, as you can see, like I was saying earlier, this creator has a HCDU plus. I'm not exactly sure what the extent of that is. So yeah, if you can't get your head around SimIdge, that might be something to look at. So yeah, back to what caused this. So this is what it looks like when you open it up. You want to make sure your downloads folder is correct, that it's the right file path, and then you can select a log for it to read. So your logs are in your documents, EA Games, Sims 2, and logs, and you can sort by date modified. So if I try this one and then select it and press start, and then it will progress. Seems to be super slow actually, so just bear with it. So what caused this actually took a long time to load. So I'm going back to it. I finally found a example of an error log that I had fairly recently that has come back with some suspected packages. So I get this from time to time and it's nothing I worry about. Basically when the season changes over, I sometimes get this climate stack run out of range, and I believe it's because I used 7-day seasons and then had to adjust these mods to complement that to put them on the same kind of schedule. So yeah, I'm not worried about that, but if it was something that you were worried about, you can see that you have some suspected mods that you could look into, resolve some potential conflicts, potentially decide to get rid of, potentially edit, move your loader around, all sorts. It can give you some pointers in the right direction. In some cases, it could be something you could raise to the mod author. Say if it came back and it was a mod by Nopke. I don't think that's how you say that. I don't know how to say Nopk. Nope. Nope. I don't know how to say it. But anyway, them or Midge, they're really active and really helpful. So I'd just send them a message and be like, hey, I've had this error log and it's suspecting your mod as the cause. Can you tell me any more? Have you got any suggestions? That kind of thing. So yeah, this is super helpful to point you in the right directions if you have some problematic mods causing you errors. But again, just because a mod's causing you an error sometimes, it doesn't mean it's breaking your game and it needs to be gotten rid of. You just have to learn a little bit more about it and make some decisions. So the next 3 mods are about custom content and making it smaller and well, the file size is smaller and having a less impact on your game and reducing those really long load times. So reorganizing my custom content is something I am very slowly working on at the moment. Mine isn't perfect at all, but yeah, if you can kind of go through and make these fixes to your custom content, hopefully you'll see some really good results. So the first thing to do is download this tool called the bulk rename utility. It can be used for anything beyond the scope of Sims 2 custom content. But basically, when file names of Sims 2 custom content of package files have characters in them, like certain characters and spaces in them, it makes them load longer. So if you refer to this post by I Love The Sims 2cc on Tumblr, they have a post on some instructions on how to use the utility and also the special characters that cause a problem that you're going to want to get rid of. Well, not all of them, to be honest. There's nothing wrong with using dots and exclamation points, for example, and like plus I think is fine, or underscores and asterisks, so maybe this isn't actually the best list at all. I feel like I found a better resource on the characters that you do want to get rid of, but anyway, any accents, things like that, brackets, they can take longer to load than just no spaces and underscores. So what I've done as an example for the next couple of mods is I've taken one set of hair called Anto Chiara by Idala Sims, and with the mesh, this was actually all properly labelled with the underscores. There would actually be nothing to rename from this creator, but just for the sake of demonstration, I got rid of the underscores in this to show that you can use this tool to bulk replace spaces with no space or underscores. Okay, so to use this, you need to navigate to the folder of the files you want to rename. In my case, it's just this example folder on my desktop, but in your case, it might be your entire downloads folder. Actually, I would recommend not renaming mods personally, because it's more critical that they function correctly, and there's all kinds of things that it's better just to avoid, and mods are really small anyway. So to replace spaces with underscores, just press your spacebar once in the replace field and with a underscore. You can also use step 5 to remove characters, so you can put in like brackets, for example. And then select all. It can be folders as well, it can be recursive if you tick subfolders, and then just press rename and okay, and there we go. This one that I put spaces in now has underscores instead, which help the game to load them better. So the next thing is a tool called Compressorizer, which used to be on a website called The Sim Wardrobe, which no longer exists. So in this month, The Sims thread, Michelle, which is a great author of Recolors, shared her copy of the Wardrobe Wrangler, which is another tool that used to be on Sim Wardrobe, which I'm not including in this video because that's a bit more, well, it's just not a must have. It's something that you might find useful if you want to recategorize some of your custom content clothes, for example. But anyway, it's a compressorizer that we're after. So if you go to this link, you can download it from here. So when you open that, this is what it looks like. If you want it to search for subfolders, make sure you tick this recursive checkbox and then it will cover the subfolders as well. And then you go to add files to list and find the folder that you want to search through and compress the files inside. So again, I'm using this example file on my desktop of this hair, and then you just press go. And it goes through them all, and if it can make the file smaller, it will do. And it looks like these files were already compressed by Amidala, so this is probably not a great example, but hopefully you get the idea. So when it's finished, it says operation successful, so many megabytes stored. It always seems to say 1 megabyte even when it hasn't, you know, when in the log they're all the same. But you can really make this, get this number to be bigger with some authors. Some authors don't compress their stuff before uploading it. You can't break custom content by compressing it, so don't worry about that at all. But again, I wouldn't do it with mods. There's no need. Mods are more temperamental, more important, and much, much smaller anyway. So yeah, just do it for custom content. But you can save so much storage space and therefore so much loading time. And I actually think it's about, usually on like a standard to pretty good computer, the time it takes your game to load is about, it's about a minute per gigabyte of your downloads folder. So I think my downloads folder is like 25 gig. So it does take my game like 20 minutes to load. I do have a fast computer and it is on an SSD. So, but yeah, that is a good kind of gauge. So obviously shaving off them megabytes and even gigabytes can really, really help your load times. And it just simply overwrites it. You don't have to save it or anything. It just overrides them. Then you don't have to do anything with them. It just does it for you. So make sure you're doing this for all of the custom content you have and then install in the future. The next tool is actually one I haven't yet used but will be using a lot in the future once my custom content is sorted, and that is the CC merger by Lazy Duchess. And what this does is, well, what it says on the tin, it merges CC files into one file. So as you can see with this hair, I would always recommend keeping the hair meshes together. I actually just going to give you a bit of an insight into how I'm going about reorganizing my CC hair. I'm going through the authors slowly. So as you can see, I keep all of the meshes together and the colors in their own folders. So yeah, this is taking a really long time, but hopefully it will be worth it. So what I would do then is I would keep that mesh in the meshes folder, but for the colors, I would merge all these together. But also, just side note, when it comes to creators of hair, check the swatches first, and I'll show you an easy way to do that in a minute, but you might not like them all. So make sure you don't install the colours that you don't like. For example, I know that I don't like this fishing colour. It's a very grey brown colour and I don't like it at all. So I would just delete that and not keep it in. So yeah, make sure you like all of your custom content first. That's really important. Before you bother compressing and merging, there's no point if you don't like it. Delete the individual swatch files that you don't like before merging them together. Again, I'm just going to do them all as an example here, but if I was, doing this to keep, I would have checked all of these colours first to make sure I like them and then compress and merge them. So I've just opened the CC merger for actually the first time for me, but it seems pretty self-explanatory. So it defaults to your downloads folder, but I'm going to change this to this example folder. And you can change these values. I'm not sure why this is 0 and it says the default is 100, so I guess I'll put it as 100, or maybe 0 is no limit. I'll just put it as 1,000 just in case. So then when you've got the folder that you want to merge, you then hit merge. Well, I'm actually going to take this mesh out because I don't want to merge that. I don't think it's a good idea to merge your meshes. If you use different creators that edit the same mesh, there's no point having the same mesh several times, so just keep them separate. And then hit merge, and then it asks you to name the newly merged file. So I just call this Amidala Anto Kiara and hit save, and then that's it. It finishes. This is your new merged file. As you can see, it's much bigger, and it gives you a log as well. And then, so then you could delete all of these. They're no longer needed. Well, I can't because I still have this open. But anyway, then I could delete these and just keep this file. And then it will be smaller and more efficient than having to have the game load each of those swatches individually. They are now in a nice packed file all together. Next tool I want to show you is this one called Any Game Starter, and this is what I mentioned about an easy way to test your custom content first before committing it to your files and compressing it and merging it. What this does is it basically uses your game's installation file. So if you have the Ultimate Collection on Origin, it gets those Origin files in your program files or whatever, but your documents is separate. So if I show you my documents, as you can see, I have my normal EA Games The Sims 2 folder here with my massive downloads folder. But there is another file for me called Any Game Starter. And if you go to this Any Game 1, EA Games Sims 2 Ultimate Collection, it has its own downloads folder. So here is some hairs that I was testing out currently, seeing what swatches I want to keep, that kind of thing. And this basically means that you can get your game open in seconds without all your custom content loading in when you just want to check something, or even sometimes you might just want to check something in the vanilla game. Or the biggest use I can think of is checking the CC you've just found or are sorting out. You can get into your game in seconds, have a look around, see if you like them, and then go from there before committing them to your actual game files. So when you open it up, this is the one you want to use, and always make sure you run as administrator, because otherwise you get a lot of pop-ups, or at least I do. But anyway, your game will load quickly and not have to take ages to load the gigabytes of custom content that I'm sure a lot of you have, and that makes it really annoying and a deterrent to check custom content. You just shot it in there and hope for the best. This is a really handy way to do it. So as you can see, my game starts loading pretty much straight away. There's no problems there. And I'm going to do a bit of a 2-in-1 here. And since something that I would suggest you do is to play your game in windowed mode, it is better. It helps The Sims 2 run better usually in windowed mode. And if it bothers you to be able to see your taskbar, I actually like it because I don't currently have a second monitor, and I like to, have spreadsheets going for my rotational gameplay and that kind of thing. But if it bothers you and you don't want to see your taskbar, I would recommend a tool called Borderless Gaming. Another similar tool is called Fullscreenizer, but I have issues with that, and I found that this works much better for me. So when you open it up, you can choose the application you want to make full screen, borderless full screen. You just press this button, and then it gets rid of your taskbar and gives you that full screen feel. So to be honest, guys, I would say that's it for what I would consider must-haves, but there is just one last tool I'd like to mention for those probably more advanced users that's really handy to know about. Even if you're not there yet, it's good to know about for the potentials that it can do, and that is called the lot adjuster. And it basically means that you can edit a lot. If you play The Sims 4, obviously it's quite easy to move what you have built around the grid and put smaller lots onto bigger lots and that kind of thing. So this kind of opens the door to that. So when you press start, it brings up all of the neighborhoods and sub-neighborhoods you have. So I'll load up Veronaville, and then it brings up all of the lots that you have on Veronaville. And something that I used it for was on the apartments that I have. It's handy for apartments to change the lot class value. Apartments have a class, and that affects what social group townies come, whether it's like the gearheads in low class and like the socialites in high class. And sometimes when you build an apartment, it can really, like, the class can really seem wrong. I had some really quite luxury apartments, but the class was low, so I didn't want the neighbors to be of like low class Sims. I wanted it to be more realistic, so I used this tool to increase it, because there is a cheat to do this, but it doesn't work properly, or it doesn't keep. A lot of people have issues with it, and and then I looked up how to do this and found that this tool is a way to do it. Another thing that you can do is make the land bigger, the land around a house, and I actually did this for Antonio Monte. So if I get a empty house, for example, you can change the side of it. So as you can see, it tells you what the old size is, but then you could add 10 more squares to the back, or 10 more, for some reason it's got to be a multiple of 10, but anyway, you could expand it from the back and the right, and then you have a bigger lot. Because I found that Antonio came into a lot of money, but he didn't need a bigger house. I just wanted to make his house nice, but there was no room for a driveway, so he couldn't splash out on a car or a pool. So I expanded his lot, essentially bought him more land. I actually did take some money away from him for doing that, simulated him buying more land. That might be an idea for you, so that he had room to build a driveway and a garden. So yeah, that's super handy for editing lots that you don't want to rebuild a house just because you want it on a bigger lot. This is a way you can do that. So that's all for today. I hope you found this video helpful. Please let me know if there are any other tools that you consider essential and that you heavily use. Let me know about them. I'd love to know about more. And like I said, if you feel like you could benefit from a tutorial of any of these tools that I've mentioned in more detail, let me know, and that is something I could consider doing. Same for SimPE tutorials. I'm no expert, but there's a couple of things that I could do and show you. But that's about it for today, guys. Apologies again for the more irregular videos going forward, but I still love doing this, so thank you for watching. Make sure you join my Discord, the link's in the description, and you can find me on Twitter, and that's a great way to keep in touch with me, keep up with me between videos, especially if you're looking for some Sims 2 help or an advice. Come join my Discord and we can talk. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!